Man, I can't believe it's been 2 years since I've been here. This was my home. I don't know how I lived like this. Don't know how I was content, had absolutely no air conditioning, no heating in the winter. This whole entire area was completely clear. I had it flattened out. I had all those pallets set up, got a nice structure, hooked it up to this tree. There's even a nail still here. This is my old jacket. Actually got this from an elderly couple. Probably one of the most comfortable things in the world. Probably saved my life too. Down here is where I'd take a bath. On occasion after it rained, I'd have running water. This water would be a little bit higher. Not the most sanitary thing in the world, but it was something. Me getting into this position, kind of complicated, mostly my fault. Years ago, I was really lazy. I didn't care about myself. I didn't care about others around me. I always thought that everything would be given to me, that I would not have to work for anything. And then reality hit me. I have family near, and for a while, I took them for granted way too much. And finally, they got to the point where they said, you gotta learn how to fend for yourself. Fall had stopped. It started hitting winter, got really cold. I found a program called Warm that offered, a warm bed to sleep in at night. I was told, hey, there's this place that you can go to during the day where you won't be in trouble if you stay there for hours at a time. They've got really good resources and you should check it out. And I was like, okay, so what's this place called? Where's it at? They said it's called The Mission. I went in there, signed in. I said, hey, cool, there's a place that I can hang out. There's food that I can eat that I didn't have to, panhandle money for or anything like that. This is great. After a couple of days of going there, I was introduced to Richard and Robert, and they were like, hey, you should probably try and get yourself a job. I was like, yeah, I know I should. So after, I want to say 2 months of searching for a job, I finally found something for me. It was probably the best decision that I had ever in my life, because that enabled me to start getting income, to start meeting new people. It gave me a reason to clean myself up, to make myself look presentable, no longer having what everybody called the homeless look, all dirty, grungy, nasty. It's not a lifestyle that I would wish upon anybody. And Mission helped me realize that is probably the number one thing that I should focus on is myself, to always better improve myself. And they gave me the resources to do that. It's nothing like having support that doesn't force you. Robert and Richard are basically two people that I looked up to, like, as mentors. They were there every day, and they were a constant reminder that I can be better than what I am now. They're two people that are led by the Bible. They're led by the teachings that is presented in all the scriptures.
Well, the mission was started 3 years ago, and basically was formed by the very people that walked through the door. That every time somebody walked in the door, we just asked them what was going on.
You know, we had a lot of people who came in the doors that were homeless that didn't have any place in the whole area. We figured, actually, being new to the area, personally, I thought there would be somewhere that did that already. And I was surprised, actually, that there was no place that a homeless person could go take a shower.
And the computer training, the computer training was something that no one had, and we knew that it was going to cost $1,200 to do a computer class. And what happened was we gave. Matter of fact, I taught the first computer class in the mission.
It's crazy what's happened to the pantry, because over the last 3 years, we've gone from like maybe 100 or 200 folks to this year having hundreds of families actually using the mission. Yeah. And we're even surprised now. This was the first year that we had a hard time actually keeping it full. And so, which was awesome, because we had triple the support at the same time. So it really actually worked out. And
one of the frustrating things that we had in the last 3 years was seeing how many people were walking into the door that didn't have a place to stay. Now, some of them were in their cars, and that's how we ended up giving gas away.
Yeah,
gas cards, because we had so many people that were living in their cars.
Yeah, we'd have people actually that would come to the mission that needed a gas card because they couldn't. You know, they came to that conclusion that, well, what do I do? Do I put gas in the car, or do I feed the kids? Or do I get heating oil? Because in the wintertime, heating oil is huge. And so that was a huge thing. So we started giving out gas cards.
One of the things that we did notice that there was a lot of different people that were trying to, that came to the mission. And it wasn't one just type of nationality. It wasn't just one facet of our community. It was all facets of our community.
One of the things that was interesting was in our third year, or actually before the third year, in the very, very beginning, we made a concerted decision that we would support the mission out of our own funding, out of our own pockets, because we felt that if we weren't invested in ourselves, how could we get others to actually then take money out of their own pockets? So it was very important for us not to ask people for funding. And even though there were organizations that did come forward and offer, we never asked. And so after 3 years, we just really felt that it was time that we could go out and have a big fundraiser. And so we did, and in a very short period of time, within like a 4 or 5 week period of time, we raised $41,000, which was crazy, right? I mean, we were like shocked. And then shortly after that, there was a blue building that was right next to us that we had been trying to procure, and we had kind of contacted them, but we were the only organization out of multiple organizations that we were the only ones that didn't have any money. And so this building was going up for auction, and it went up to auction, and the first guy who won the bid then pulled out, which allowed then a gentleman to step forward, bought the building, and then he called us shortly after this fundraiser and said, "Hey, gentlemen, I've purchased this building for the mission," and so we were like, yeah, we like fell out of our chairs. We couldn't believe it. And so from that point on, then it became very clear very quickly that the Lord was going to take the mission, and it was going to turn it into something much bigger than we ever thought possible.
Because one of the reasons why we wanted the building so badly was as the mission was growing, the frustration we had was that there were so many people that would come to the mission and they wouldn't have a place to stay. They were living in their cars. They were so desperate, and it was the one thing that we couldn't help. So this is the very reason why our hearts just broke because of it.
We then started searching for an organization that could come on board with us, partner with us to help us do the things that we needed. And that group is the Savage Group. And they're a consultant group that works for many Christian organizations, and they're masters at dealing with rescue shelters and homeless organizations. And so they came on board with us to build capital funding so that we could build it. But they also
with our board.
Yeah, because the problem was we had people coming to us and at this point started being very concerned with giving us a larger donation because we hadn't put together a board. And so at that point we brought on the Savage Group.
So in many cases we encounter people who have a personal desire, a personal dream to make a difference in the world. And certainly all of you viewing this probably have something in your own life that it's really important to you and you want to make a difference. But we can only go so far on our own, and we need a team, and we need some infrastructure. We need really that sort of organization, and the legal side of it, the governance side of it, are pieces in the nonprofit world that are very important. In fact, the mission is a 501c3, public charity, which means they're accountable to the public and they want to work with the public. And the best way to ensure they do that well is to have a board that provides oversight, provides direction, provides boundaries, if you will, to ensure that they're good stewards and they are trustworthy of the public support. And that's what we're seeing here.
Shortly after the fundraiser and the gentleman came forward and donated the building to us, it became very obvious to us very quickly that we needed to find an architect that was experienced specifically within rescue shelters or emergency shelters. And so we went online, we did a pretty extensive research, and we found this gentleman named Brian Nelson, and he's actually known as the rescue mission guy. And he's built 71 shelters all over the U.S.
About a year ago, when I was contacted by the Myers brothers, I saw that they had a unique opportunity with the building that they were going to acquire. They were asking a lot of intelligent questions, and I could tell that they really understood what mission work was all about.
One of the interesting things about the drawings of the building through the architect is that we actually had a couple of homeless people that were coming to the mission.
They all came to my house one day, sat at a table, and we had the original drawings from what our architect had sent us. And so we took those, and I said, guys, we're going to massage these into something that we think will fit what we're looking for. And Travis specifically really took ownership of it, and he took it and he started drawing it out, and within, I imagine, about an hour and a half, he had completely made a complete drawing for us that was really pretty cool. I thought it was really, really nice. And then we sent it back over to the architect, and he called me just a short time afterwards and said, Rich, who did this? And I said, believe it or not, one of the homeless young guys that we know of,
Travis,
wrote it, and he said, well, how did he do it? And I said, well, he told me that basically he plays video games all the time, and he was just used to going from one door into one door to one room to one room, and that it was easy.
When we received the $41,000 from our first fundraiser, we were ecstatic. So what we wanted to do is get a financial officer connected with the mission to make sure that we were accountable and we had accountability throughout the process of our funds.
We want to let you know that we fully understand how important transparency is.
So transparency is just what it sounds like. It's being open to the public with all of our records, all of our financial reports. It's very important that we remain this way. It builds that trust with the donor base, and it also allows us to be more accountable to the IRS and people who may look at our financial status.
We basically want you to know that, because anyone that ever wants to look at our books is welcome to come into the mission and ask, and we'll be more than happy to show them. One of our most prominent supporters is our Commissioner Jarboe.
In 2008, our country suffered one of the greatest recessions since the 1920s. The recession had its toll, not only at the national level, but also at the local and our community level. The recession led to many people who were normally employed suddenly finding themselves without employment opportunities, which led to a new demographic in the homeless population that we hadn't had to address before. As joblessness led to homelessness, our tax base also declined due to the lower amount of people that were employed in our community. Ironically enough, as our tax base goes down, the needs for the people in our community go up. And as stewards of our community's dollars, the commissioners simply do not have enough public funding to answer all the needs of our community. The homeless are an ever-growing population in our community, and their needs and services continue to grow as our ability to support them decreases. The county commissioners are constantly seeking public-private partnership opportunities to support our citizens. When we learned of the mission's opportunity to build a shelter in our community with private funding that could offset some of the costs that we typically have to support through public financing, we were pretty excited. This is a great opportunity for our community to support those who cannot help themselves, to help them in their quest for reintegration into our society. The commissioners and the mission are both committed to helping our homeless population become reintegrated in society and get back on their feet.
We would like to thank everybody for coming to the dinner tonight. It's just hard to imagine all the different people as we sit here tonight that are out in the woods that we can't see. And there's so many needy people out there that have nowhere to stay. I hope that everybody here tonight takes a few minutes and really understands the need, the unseen need that exists here in our own community.
One thing that frustrates us more at the mission is not being able to help someone to live somewhere, to find a place for them to stay. This is the number one thing that has been the frustration of the mission. You've seen at the beginning of the video all the individuals that are homeless or they're living in their cars.
We know those people, and every single one of them on each one of those days, we have a face for them.
It's because of a relationship. A lot of stereotypes say that the homeless is people, only those that are drug addicts. Well, there's a lot of homeless that are not drug addicts, and they're not alcoholics. They're a face just like you and me, where we lose our job, and within 2 or 3 paychecks, and we're homeless. We take a minute to open our hearts up to you and tell you the real story behind the story. This is what the goal of the mission is not just to have someone to live somewhere, but to create a atmosphere where they can get not only rehabilitated, but have an opportunity for internships, for jobs that will actually help them get off the street. And so this is our call to action. This is a call to all of us as individuals. What can we do? So I pray and hope that every single one of us looks and say, okay, what can I do? And then do it.